Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here this morning, and it's extremely impressive to see so many of you this early in the morning that have given up your normal routines to be here. And when I look at the audience, I certainly see lots of friends and colleagues that I've had the good fortune to meet over a number of years in the sector, and really crossing three pillars of my life, the post-secondary sector, government, and business. And that's gratifying because for me, I've always felt there's quite a symbiotic relationship between those three sectors. Each one is enhanced by the success of others, and I might add that that's even more so today than ever before. And of course, I see my good friend Sheldon that actually brought me to this gig at COU a few years ago. Be careful. Come for 6 months while we do a search. 6 years later, I'm actually leaving the job. But Sheldon, thank you for joining me today. He and I both share a fundamental belief in the transformative power of post-secondary education. We've each spent over 40 years devoted to advancing that work for the good of our students and for the communities that we serve. And each of us has also spent more than a decade as a university president, and we've had that experience of being energized by young people who have come in and out our doors. We've learned from each of them, and of course it's not hard to be inspired by our students one bit. I personally particularly admire those who come back to pursue their degrees after considerable time in the workforce. That is courageous for many of them. But our work is gratifying. Our work is sometimes frustrating, but it's always fascinating. And given the complex challenges of university leadership, I believe that those challenges are only going to accelerate in the future. And so that, from my point of view, those that follow us in these jobs are going to need to be supercharged in resilience and inclusiveness. And like me, Sheldon's in transition. You heard a little bit about that. He's going to take a front seat very soon in government, days away actually. And in my leaving the Council of Ontario Universities, I also hope to be able to make a difference in a new way, not from another big position in the sector, but from the standpoint of a big opportunity. And that opportunity is to use the flexibility of an administrative leave to work on a number of meaningful projects, both globally and locally, that will benefit not only students, but future leaders in the university sector. Now, because of these newfound freedoms for Sheldon and me, our teams rather exuberantly named this event Straight Talk, kind of a provocative title that suggests there are things we want to get off our chests. So, Sheldon, I'm counting on you to do that. But the themes that I've used in my opening comments, relationships, transformation, the energy of young minds, a little bit of frustration, complexity, acceleration, those are going to be at the core of my thoughts today. But first, let me give you some straight goods on what I believe are the most fundamental contributions of universities today, and how I believe everyone in this room, whether you represent universities, colleges, government, or business, can propel them even higher. Quite simply, our prosperity depends on the very thing that universities produce, and that's knowledge. Knowledge translated through our core mission in research and teaching, and the knowledge developed in our graduates, the talent needed to build a prosperous Ontario and a 21st century workforce. Entrepreneurship and innovation, research and its commercialization of that knowledge, they are the future of our economy, and we know that, I think, today more than ever. Only by accelerating the shift to the knowledge economy can we maximize growth beyond that 1.5% at which we seem today perpetually stuck. And given the right conditions and your help building stronger collaborative relationships, universities can be the engine that ultimately creates wealth. Never before has a connection between the research being done at universities and the training of young minds in innovative ways been so intrinsically linked to the economy of today, a global economy. When universities talk about their contribution to innovation, they often talk about their tremendous research impact, the made in Canada research that changes lives. And from time to time, as we've seen recently, it's recognized with a Nobel Prize. Of course, that epitomizes global impact. Did you know that higher education research and development in Canada is a $12.4 billion industry, and that 40 to 50% of that R&D happens right here in Ontario? We know universities punch a significant economic impact, as do our colleges. Not only do they spend money in their communities, but so do their students, and that includes their international students. Plus, universities and colleges provide significant employment and offer some of the best jobs in their regions. Using the university sector as an example, because I know it best, our largest institution has over a $5.7 billion economic impact every year. And even if you took a mid-sized university, and there are many of them, generate in excess of $2.5 billion annually in economic impact. So think about it, with 21 universities and 24 colleges in this province, that's an astonishing combined impact. Universities are creating jobs, job-ready graduates, through co-ops and internships and community-based learning placements. They're producing entrepreneurial thinkers for the job market, graduates who not only leave our universities with degrees in hand that stand the test of time, but those who graduate having created their own jobs for the future and jobs for others in small businesses. And even in large businesses that hire them afterwards, their entrepreneurial skills that are being developed as a result of our increased effort on entrepreneurship skill development are going to help those larger existing organizations be more resilient. Our universities are creating partnerships with industry, often in the context of their own strengths. Windsor and Mac with the automotive sector, for example. Queen's and Laurentian with mining. York and Laurier with social innovation. And Trent and Waterloo with the green economy. And they are creating partnerships with industry, creating sector corridors. For example, the ICT with U of T, Ryerson, OCAD-U, Laurier, and Waterloo. And yet our critics often overlook universities when they think about wealth creation in society. Instead, they sometimes view us as consumers of wealth, public institutions that call for more investment by government and our partners in order to make a difference in society for the long term. That old-fashioned thinking needs to change. It's my belief that universities need to be recognized as the entrepreneurial enterprises they truly can be, as integral to our wealth creation ecosystem as business itself. But we need to do a better job of measuring that impact and have a broader reach across the curriculum for greater numbers of our students to graduate with these new kinds of skills. There's no question about the mission of our public institutions, that it has evolved, and so have the expectations of us. By supporting that broader mission of universities, you, government and business, can meaningfully contribute to and expand your own roles in wealth creation. That could be by facilitating a receptive policy environment or by creating enduring partnerships. So now a challenge. Now here you're going to have to indulge me a little bit because there's a great room of government and business and college and university colleagues. You wouldn't expect me not to advocate for a great cause. So here's my challenge. To universities, I challenge you to move forward with change. Accelerate through the processes that you deeply value in your communities, your engagement in wealth creation through partnerships and activities that you prioritize. Create a benchmark for the innovation ecosystem at your university in teaching, research, entrepreneurship, incubators, curriculum, co-curriculars. Set a new integrated or composite target and aim even higher. That means measuring. Find new ways for business and community organizations to engage students in internships, co-ops, and various other types of work placements, and make it attractive to those business organizations. Seek more partnerships to do more research to solve today's problems. You cannot do it alone, and as I look to the future, you won't always be able to rely on accelerated government support to invest at the level needed. Solving today's problems will secure investments to work on tomorrow's issues. Ask business and community leaders what skills they need in the next generation of graduates, and then seek to provide those. Don't assume all the knowledge is inside your institution. Unleash the constraints on leadership in your institutions, however you define that, to be more creative, and I guarantee it'll make a difference. And finally, create room to fail, not student failure, as all learning is success, but innovation failure. That's how we move forward. Experiment. And to the business community, here's a challenge for you. Remember I said there was a symbiotic relationship between universities, business, and government, and that the success of each depends on the success of the other. Well, we need business to be good partners in the knowledge economy. Invest in Ontario innovation and our entrepreneurs. Recognize that investing in the training of our recent graduates is a benefit for you, as well as the economy, society, and cultural cohesiveness needed more than ever. It's not just a cost center, as one business leader said to me. I bring students in for these programs, and it's a cost center for me, particularly small business, but it is cost avoidance for the future. It is not unusual to have a career today that stretches 50 or 60 years, particularly for women. As the Ontario Chamber of Commerce put it, it's time for the private sector to recognize its role in upskilling the workforce for the 21st century. Instead of a downturn in business training investments, we need you to do more of it, whether independently or in collaboration with others. And now to government, I challenge you to recognize universities and colleges as key economic drivers. And what does that mean to me? Unleash flexibility in public policy to give universities the room to do things in a new way and build a university culture that is less dependent. If your stewardship means control and rules, I fear we will lose enormous opportunities. Enact policy that provides access to seed money, unencumbered, but certainly with strong accountabilities for the outcomes. Demonstrate good partnership by collaborating on relevant decisions before the cake's fully baked. This also implies investing in a cultural fix. Even as you seek to deliver significant savings to meet your commitment to balance the budget by 2017-18, remember that there's a difference between investment in feeding the pipeline and investment in consumption. Spending on post-secondary education is investing in knowledge, and that kind of competitive spending is the kind that fuels the economy and creates long-term wealth. We need new investment, not simply in access, but in quality to meet increasing demands for creativity and innovation. Challenge yourselves and post-secondary leaders to reinvent their engagement strategies with each other and with you, and be open to difference, not just changing sameness. And now a final piece of straight talk for us all to consider. The attributes of trust between us as public universities and our government, and between public universities and the public, needs a refresh. Let's get back to a place where government trusts universities to manage their complex affairs, and universities can trust government to make decisions that don't bring grief, where universities can trust business to step up for graduates, and where business can trust universities' ability to give them what they need. And finally, to a place where universities trust each other, and universities and colleges trust each other, and focus on the whole being greater than the sum of our parts. In the words of Ernest Hemingway, the best way to find out if you can trust somebody, to trust them. And I will leave you with one of my favorites, absolute favorites, in the sage words of Yoda. Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try.